you don't need to graduate from college with the best job or the best grades. You just need to know what you don't like. Theory of elimination, right? You don't worry about doing things, but make sure you know what you don't like. You will eventually figure out what you want to do, right? Don't worry about having the best when you walk out of college. World has a lot to give and you will figure it out.
We are three friends who met in college and now are working in diverse fields across the globe. Curious to know about what our friends are up to. So here we are, connecting, talking, and learning from our friends. In this podcast, we are sharing extraordinary insights from our not so ordinary friends working in various industries and sharing their stories and their journey so far. These are your hosts, Hiloni Punatar,
Atit Kothari,
and Tapan Desai.
and this is What the Hat. Subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss on any episodes. Welcome Prerak on the show. Welcome to What the Hat. We have Prerak Sheth today with us. Prerak is a self-improvement advocate who believes in making every day better than yesterday. He is also a cyber strategy consultant with PwC and thinks that passion is overrated. Heavy lifting, meditation, and longevity are his new obsessions. And to add to the cherry on the cake, he is an amazing husband. Welcome, Prerak.
Thank you. So excited to be on. So excited to just reconnect with all you guys. I guess looking forward to today. Let's get started.
So before we begin, I just wanted to tell that I know Hiloni Prerak since 11th grade. I think Mitte by days, Prerak was in Gokhlibai, and we connected through a friend. And then we have been friends since then, Navratri and then college fest and then DJ together. So, and it has been great knowing both of you all. And then I'll start with the intro actually, Prerak. I had a question. What do you mean by passion is overrated?
Passion is something that we hear about. It's such a loosely used word, right? I mean, people are passionate about music. People are passionate about gaming. People are passionate about just anything, right? But not everyone uh, gets to make money out of things that they are passionate about. Not everyone has that opportunity, and not everyone knows what their true passion is. Meaning, some people just learning new things, and that's probably just liking, not like passion. It's not an extreme feeling what passion is described to be. I feel to follow up why passion is overrated, I feel purpose empowers passion. Meaning, if you have a purpose to achieve something, you don't need to be passionate about it. You just need to figure out, there's enough knowledge available to you. You just need to figure out how to channelize it in the right way. Maybe, making money or just as a hobby. You just need a purpose. I think passion is just like a loosely used word.
Okay. But how do you find your purpose? Or purpose is for you something that you're interested in doing at that particular time. Based on what you said, I feel that's what you think about purpose.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So for example, if you want to make a living, right? Just make money, making money is a purpose, or living a good life is a purpose. Having being able to save enough money is a purpose. You need to figure out just ways to channelize your energy to use whatever you want to achieve whatever you want to fulfill your purpose.
And then as humans, we can have multiple purposes at a time. You can be, okay. Yeah, this ties to something I recently wrote, about mental models where, I say, specialization is about insects. A human can have multiple purposes. Coming back to DJ, why did you choose engineering? We always tend to start from the beginning. So I wanted to ask, why did you select engineering? And then what made you choose DJ as well?
So, I'll take it back. I'll take it back a couple of years
Yeah.
from before DJ. I always I knew what I wanted to do, and which is something that I'm not doing right now. But I knew I wanted to be a pilot. I was very fancied by the whole idea of being a commercial pilot, and just the whole aviation industry amazes me. I feel it's it's something that I really, really wanted to do. But, I went to these career counselors or career coaches, whatever, with my parents. And we had these meetings, some aptitude tests and all of that. And it felt like, I was in the right direction. I had everything that, that you want, you need to qualify to at least go for the pilot training and the school and everything. But the whole, aviation industry around that time was not doing well. If you guys remember, this was somewhere around the time Kingfisher went down, and then some other, I think, aviation companies, some mergers, acquisitions. A lot of things are happening in the aviation industry, and just parents being parents, they wanted me to have like a safe backup career before I actually explore and like invest, money and life into flying, right? So I thought, what was a good way to go ahead, right? I mean, and there were three options after the 10th grade: science, commerce, arts, whatever. And I really liked, science. I was never like a, business guy at that time, and I was definitely not artistic or did not have that bent of mind. So I chose just going ahead with science, and that led me to the next step, like what next. And I guess I'm that person who's, if I'm put in a situation, I'll always try to come out of it, win and come out of it, right? So just looking at what could have been my best choices, I think from those things, I think engineering was my safe option or the best option at that time. And that's why engineering. I was never really like, I want to do engineering. That was never really my thing. But I guess I started loving it. And again, funnily, coming back to purpose empowers passion, I think I had a purpose to be, have a good career, go to a nice college, live a good student life, all of that, right? And all of that brought me to DJ Sanghvi in engineering. I think, which which is a great engineering college. I had options, like, I mean, based on my marks were in the entrance exams, I had options to go into, VJTI or SP, which are ranked higher than DJ Sanghvi. But it just felt right? I mean, the people, the vibe, everything, it just felt right. It was a good balance between these people who wanted, intelligent people for sure. We were definitely like the top 1% or 2%. So definitely intelligent people, but also a good vibe. Like it never felt like a rat race or never felt like a constant, competition on who, like it was never academics only. That's why I chose DJ and engineering, if that answers your question.
In fact, I think one of the reasons probably initially us meeting was because of one of those tutor classes that we went together. And from there, I mean, there were times where you told me, okay, I'll teach you this. And you were like really good at math. And that's something that led us to meet more initially, where for me, I believe that you've always had the acumen for engineering, even when I believe that you thought about pilot, but you always had that acumen in you, even in like 10th and 11th, 12th, while we were studying for CET. And then, yeah, and partially somewhere I thought DJ would also be because of probably me, Tapan, and couple of us being part of DJ as well. Was that one of your decision making?
It's always good to be surrounded by like-minded people. I remember the exact day when I went to VJTI with my parents just to scout the college, right? I mean, that seemed like the obvious choice. Meaning, like, if you've done well, go to VJTI, right? I remember just going inside the college. I think within 5 minutes, I was like, I can't do this shit. It was so bad. I mean, it just didn't feel like DJ. But
yeah,
I'm sure people do good there as well, right?
No, like I actually connect with this a lot. Like I went to RGIT first, then TSEC, and then like throughout that, I always wanted to come to DJ for the fact that even when I was in RGIT, I used to bunk classes and come to DJ during breaks and like be in the canteen because like you were there, Chirag was there, like most of our undergrad friends were there. So I used to like hang out in the DJ canteen even though I was enrolled with RGIT. So I think like friends play a major role, and especially in DJ, like when we went to DJ, we already like had like knew certain people, but then most of us are like so like-minded that we need that extracurricular, like a lot of extracurricular apart from the regular study work. So I think that's what makes DJ special as well, right?
So
Yeah.
speaking to the extracurricular stuff, apart from attending classes, DJ gave you a lot of opportunities to do that, I guess. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely something that has shaped my personality, and it definitely makes me who I am today. It all sounds very stupid right now. Working so hard for college festivals, staying up like 18 hour, doing like 18-hour days, or like being in college overnight, sleeping on chairs just to like put an event together. That was such a real life experience, right? I mean, that was sort of I don't know how to put this, but like a window into the real life, right? I mean, these real people, right? Who, meaning like people who are trying to build brands, people who are trying to sell products, people who are, the whole idea of working together with a team towards one common goal and trying to make it the best day of your life and the best event the college has seen so far. The whole idea is amazing, right? I mean, and I think those are the only people who I am still in touch with, because we developed a bond over working together.
I don't know if I've shared this. So first was I like tend to have a smaller group. I tend to bond with like a very few amount of people. But like when I started working in Pulse, like we had to talk to a lot more people. You have to bond with your juniors. You need to get your work done. Like we all bonded in a different sense. So that was the first thing. Second thing I think that Pulse did for me was discipline. Like you get into some form of discipline. Like it's not that you can just do whatever you want whenever you are answerable to a lot of people, right? So that was very something that I learned.
Well, I think one more thing I'd say was, it was not always about doing the right thing. It was about like getting things done. I mean, jugaad, I think will be the right word for that. Jugaad is what I learned from there.
The third thing, yes, I remember, was like knowing, like even if you fail at something, like we had some form of failures, like when you
Yeah.
do some event and there are not enough crowds, something like that.
Yep.
So like,
Yep.
how do you deal with that? That was also a learning part of Pulse.
Failing together was not as bad as like failing alone, right? So
Yeah. Okay. So going from that, like Prerak, what will your advice be to people who are just graduating from college and are about to like enter the real world? And like, what is one thing that you will tell them to just ignore that we are taught in college or we hear in college?
you don't need to graduate from college with the best job or the best grades. You just need to know what you don't like. Theory of elimination, right? You don't worry about doing things, but make sure you know what you don't like. You will eventually figure out what you want to do, right? Don't worry about having the best when you walk out of college. World has a lot to give, and you will figure it out.
Okay, that was a brilliant response. Following up to that, like, how does someone eliminate what they like or don't like? How do you do that? And how did you do that?
Yeah. So with just academics, doing things, extracurricular activities in college, and just how life was going, I realized one thing: I am not meant to be that person who can do a job where you are in front of a computer for 8 hours or 10 hours or whatever amount of the day, right? I need a balance between people and technology, or people and like computers. I mean, being a computer engineer, that was the most obvious choice. That would have probably been the highest paying job, being like, a software programmer with like a big tech company. But that's what I realized I don't like. And, I figured out how to, make money out of, things I like. Meaning like I discovered consulting as a profession accidentally. I won't say, I wanted to be a consultant, but I discovered consulting as a profession accidentally, just knowing that I like being in a role where I am, between people and technology. I don't care if I don't get the best money, but I am, I love doing what I do. I meet a lot of people every day. I I learn by experiences. That's me. That's what I've learned about me, right? I learn through people. I don't learn through reading things. I learn through talking to people. That was something that I, discovered by just eliminating the fact that I don't want to sit in front of a computer for 8 hours.
Like for Prerak, I think apart from that, you also had like couple of stints that you tried in college, right? Like you tried entrepreneurship. You also did like a set of internships for you to know like where it stands. So I think those also highly contributed to understanding that, okay, this is something that you don't like for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, do everything. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
What did you start in college?
So there was this, it was not, I didn't start something in college. I started after college, but in college, I used to do these events. So you remember we did some live concerts
Right.
for college. So, even after we finished Pulse, Parichai, whatever, I realized that I love doing that. I love just doing events, meaning like coordinating events. So I worked with this entertainment company uh, and a very good friend, Poojan. So I worked with him in organizing some other events, right? So he had started this entertainment company and he was planning to go for his master's abroad. So he was in UK for I think a year or so, and I was managing events for him. So I organized a couple of live events. I think one of the special events I remember was with Neha Kakkar for the Grant Medical Hospital, the JJ Medical Hospital. I organized that event independently, right? And I mean, that was just an experience, that helped me know that I love organizing events, and more than that, I think it helped me make money, be independent, not ask for money from home. And I from there on, I don't think there was a day where I had to like ask my parents for money, because I figured out that being independent is what I love, and I just found out ways of making money from somewhere or the other, right? And after college, I think right after college, I started this home automation company with my very close friends. So we were into retrofit automation. We didn't have our own product. We would assemble things for people, but retrofit automation, just to not going too deep into it, is just trying to automate your home with the existing systems. So not doing the whole master slave architecture and like changing up, the whole wiring and getting the whole house automated. Just fitting small panels behind the switches and etc. that you have, and just automating your house with simple mobile apps and stuff. So yeah, those were two things I think which I enjoyed doing. Just the process of starting companies and managing events. I think I love that whole time.
We stumbled upon EY together.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it was a very different journey and the different reason that I was part of EY versus what you wanted to achieve out of it. So, how was your overall experience? And like, what would you advise students? Like, does it make sense to directly pursue further studies, or would it still make sense to get some experience in India and then look at what they want to do next?
I think there's no one right answer for this. I won't defend working in India just because I worked there. I feel if someone has clarity in what they want to do, or you've eliminated enough number of things that you don't want to do, I think you should choose depending on that, right? If I knew I wanted to, let's take Ateeth's example, right? I think he was always passionate about building, games or applications which were used for entertainment. And I think I would have directly come for my masters if I knew that, if I had that sort of clarity. But for me, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I just knew I didn't want to be a software engineer. That's all I knew. But that was not like a good enough sort of excuse for not working, or like not maybe like just go for education. I just wanted some clarity and not just go with the flow. So that's the primary reason why I waited. And talking about my experience working right after college, I think I loved it. I had some good experiences. I remember my first project, my first EY project was with Pidilite. I think everyone knows Pidilite, so I don't need to explain what Pidilite is. People who make Fevicol, right? So yeah. I was just thrown in front of the Pidilite CIO on my first day at work. Like, I mean, after the training and everything, but my first actual day at work, I was just thrown in front of the CIO. If in meetings, and we were trying to analyze some applications for them and trying to identify some security flaws or whatever. But we were trying to suggest, we were trying to help them how to make their application stronger in terms of security. But it was such a good experience. What I've realized out of my, with working with such amazing people and, these successful people who are CIOs, CISOs, or CEOs of companies, is that they are extremely humble. They are, not everyone. This is not true for 100% of people, but definitely, they know, they understand where you're coming from. They will not put you in uncomfortable situations. All you need to do is be confident and give them the right information. Just don't lie. Just be honest. I think, and that experience was definitely like my good entry into consulting, and it definitely boosted my confidence. When I sort of resigned from UI, I actually had this conversation with my partner. He's a good friend too. So I had a conversation with him. I don't know why I'm resigning. I love this job. I don't know why I'm resigning, but that's a separate topic.
Yeah. So like following up, like why did you resign and what made you choose, like you wanted to do masters in US? When did you decide that?
So I was brought in as an analyst in EY. It gave me good experience. It gave me a great experience, I'd say. But that job was definitely not paying a lot of money, right? So how these large organizations work is they have a very structured promotion structure, right? I mean, meaning like you can go from an analyst to an associate consultant in, let's say, 2 years, from an associate consultant to consultant in another 2 years or whatever. I don't remember the exact number of years now.
Yep.
But they have these KPIs that, that they won't like change for anyone else. And they have the, another thing, they rate your performance on a scale of 1 to 5. And I remember the first year, I had the highest performance scale. And I made sure that I was functioning at the next level because I wanted to get promoted faster. I wanted to, grow in the company faster because I was loving what I was doing. I probably thought like, this was it. But I was very, very, very disappointed when the whole promotion thing, the promotion cycle or promotion discussion started. And they said, we'll give you the highest bonus and we'll give you a good raise, but we can't promote you. We can't give you more responsibilities because unfortunately, this is a structured firm. And if we are answerable to a lot of people. So that was, I think, my tipping point. I'm like, I can't do this. I mean, if my performance is only equal to some extra bonus money, I don't think, I want to go above and beyond. I don't want to like go beyond what I'm expected to do. And I thought and I figured out the only way to grow faster was education, unfortunately, right? I mean, not everyone can afford education. Not everyone wants to study again. People just want to like have a real job or, do real things in life. I didn't want to go for education. I didn't want to, like go back to school or college or whatever. But that's what I figured out was the only way to like grow faster. I had two options again, right? MBA and masters. So MBA in India was too much of a competition. And the idea that, only like 100 out of like lakhs of people make it just, turn me off. I'm like, I can't do this. I didn't want to be in that rat race again. So I guess, the other option that I was left was masters in the US. And I was very choosy with my applications. I applied to like maybe 4 or 3 schools, the courses that I really liked. And fortunately enough, I think I got a couple of admits and that made me choose masters. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. And I'm sensing a pattern here. Like whatever decisions you have spoken about till now, all of them have been based on like the process of elimination.
Yeah.
Every time you've talked about, and that's the logical way to think actually. Like you should know what option you don't want to take, and then like based on the options you have, you should be selecting them. And then also like the second thing, like working in PwC, I understand the structure of promotion and like how even based on your performance, like you get the tier ranking, but like if you're getting promoted in 3 years, then you will only be promoted in 3 years, and that's I'll say that's not a good way to assess your employees. Like that's what I've learned, and there was a lot of resentment within the employees as well. But I think that's their logical way of doing things, right? Because like if they keep promoting a lot of good performers, then like a lot of people will be getting pushed into like a top tier position, and then the whole pyramid will be upside down. That's what I always thought about it. But then playing the devil's advocate, I think a lot of good performers similar to you quit as well because they don't get promoted, right? They don't feel like they are getting like what they should be getting based on their performance.
I think I completely agree. For me, what it was like in EY, I felt something very similar. And I felt like couple of processes repeating. And with that, the kind of responsibilities coming into you and the growth that you're seeing would not match. And that felt unfair. But like now being on the other side of the spectrum and being like a CEO of my own company, there is a point after which where like after a set of people that you have, you probably have to put in a structure because you can't always justify uh, people's work to their growth.
I come from a family where, so my dad, right, his first job, before even he graduated, I think that was when he appeared for his final exams for BCom. He had his first job with Bank of India, and he stayed in that job for 32 or 33 years, I believe. And I came from that family, right? So it felt very wrong to quit a company because they wouldn't promote me. Just ethical. I mean, it's it doesn't make any sense now. But one thing I learned the hard way is, be good at what you do. Don't like necessarily love your employer. I know, Hiloni, you will hate what I said, but
Yeah.
but yeah, be good at what you do, and I guess you add value to your employer. That's definitely a given, and you will add value if you're good at what you do. But you don't need to love your employer. Yeah,
Okay. So moving back to your answer, like you said you had 4 5 admits. So like what made you select UMCP, and then you did your master's in information systems, right?
yeah,
So like
information
what
management. But yeah, same
inform
shit.
yeah, so information management. So what made you select that particular course, like specialization?
Okay, so uh, I mean, I had when I had those admits, I had a few conversations, with people who are here or just people who graduated recently or, did their masters from similar schools, or the schools I had received admits from. One pattern that I sensed was that, it's a bunch of courses. Uh, they'll teach you a few things, but it's all about what you learn. There was no definitive there was no like a mature placement cell kind of a thing where if you go to an ex college you get better jobs. That's how I think the Western world is moving towards. I think they are I think the Western market, they still look for qualifications and everything, but they are more interested in skills. So if you are able to sell yourself, I think it it doesn't really matter where you come from, like meaning which school you went from, you or you graduated from. One, and the other point was the cost benefit analysis. I realized there was something called as graduate assistantships at Maryland, meaning like they had they you do like a 20-hour on campus job, just whatever, like web development or some on campus job, right? Like some good on campus job, and they'll give you a good stipend and they'll pay your fees. So I guess at that point, if it was about selling myself, I was fairly confident about that. So I thought, I mean, let's go in and let's have minimum commitment, right? Like let's spend the minimum amount of money and figure out what to do next. I guess that made me choose University of Maryland. And fortunately enough, I did have a graduate assistantship, so I had to only pay like for one out of the 4 semesters, and I was getting paid a good stipend for studying. Right? I mean, it's like getting paid for studying at the college. So I guess there's nothing better than that. So that made me choose Maryland.
So were there any courses that you think are helping you with your current job, like that you did in UMCP?
Yeah, a lot of courses. I guess, I mean, all courses around data analytics, visualization, data science, they help a lot. Not just, in terms of using technologies tools in your job, but also the way you think. I mean, the most people in this world don't understand the difference between correlation and causality. How people make these racial attacks, meaning like they blame the entire community for not not following the PM's guidance for COVID response. They blame an entire community. If a certain number of people, in the community are wrong, that doesn't mean the whole community is wrong. So that's the difference between correlation and causality is, just helps you with logical thinking. So definitely, I'll say I had some amazing professors.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like taking all those, especially like statistics and data analysis courses, definitely improves your thinking. On top of all the tools that you learn that can be applied in the industry, it just changes the way you start thinking about your decisions. You understand probability in a much better way. I definitely resonate with that.
Going back to your response on like US education being more skill based, like what were the differences that you observed when you were studying in like UMCP versus your our curriculum in DJ, like when we were studying?
Let's take the first year at DJ, right? So we had two courses, I think, Introduction to Programming, I think it was called. So part 1 and part 2. So the first one was C, C++, and the second one was Java. They taught us a lot of good things, but they restricted what languages we could use, right? So, some people just don't think how Java works. Some people think the Python way. I think everyone thinks differently. So, people use different languages for a reason. Definitely, they have technology implications and all of that, not getting into that. But it's also how, if you're good at a particular language, it's also because you think that way, the way that language functions. And forcing someone to use a technology is not right. I mean, it's, definitely, if you're learning new concepts, that's always helpful. But you can't force someone to go a particular way. Like, don't force someone down a rabbit hole. Is what I felt about courses with Mumbai University, not DJ, just the entire Mumbai University. The freedom that we had here, like in courses at Maryland, I had a lot of freedom. They just say, we need to get this project. Like, I mean, they will never say, you need to use these languages or you need to restrict yourself to like these technologies. They never say that. Like it'll always be about, this is what we need to achieve. Figure out how you want to achieve. And I love doing that. I love, navigating uncertainty. I don't like being told, this is how you should achieve these things. I love just knowing where I have to be and I'll figure out. And I'm that, I'm that person who loves to figure things out. So that definitely is a big difference between the two sort of curriculums.
Also, the teaching style, I feel that's something that like Mumbai University doesn't consider. Every teacher has their own style, and the way a student learns from that. In Syracuse, for example, we have for one course we had like 3 teachers, and you could select like which teacher you want to teach you something, right? And that also helped because there were professors who were very theoretical versus professors who were very practical. So like you can select between those two, and I think that was something which I would have really liked if we had the option in DJ. Was it same like Atit? Was it same in CMU?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like we were shown the big picture. How you get to that picture is totally up to you. You have to figure it out. You have to build tools to get to your end goal. So because like what I'm doing right now, that job didn't even exist when I started my masters. So it was very new, very cutting edge. So we didn't have any sort of structured way of learning. A lot of it was soft skills like interacting with people in the industry, client requirements, and all of that stuff. And then you had to go out and figure out how to learn the hard skills of actually developing things that your client or your project requires. So yeah, definitely like more application based. You were thrown in the pool, go figure out. You have to get out.
To be fair, I feel just not bashing the whole Mumbai University syllabus. Imagine like being thrown a problem. Like there's the professor throws a problem at you, and you have to figure things out. And you are 18 years old. I mean, we loved the whole the master's program and how the courses were here because we were of a certain age and we had certain maturity and we had certain experience. What I'm saying is, if I were, if a problem was thrown at me, like, let's say a programming problem, right? When I was 18, it would have been harder, is what I'm saying. it would have been harder to navigate that problem at that time, but it would have made us stronger. So Mumbai University made things easier for us, meaning like getting that whole engineering degree, because you had to do a certain things to get the degree, and you figure out the pattern and then you pass, right? So they made it easier, but I don't think that is the purpose of the whole engineering program.
I don't know. I
Okay.
would agree to disagree here, but I feel like the earlier you're thrown at problems, the faster you would learn to navigate through them.
But at the same time, like Hiloni, if like people told you like, okay, build a shopping cart on a website, this is your project, and you have 3 months to build it. Like when you were 18, like would you have been able to build it like without knowing any technologies and learning things from scratch?
I probably it would be difficult for sure, but
Yeah.
I think somewhere we would have been able to figure it out. Like I feel if our experiences there would have been more nourishing in these spaces as well, I think the timeline for us would be much more faster. Like right now I deal with a lot of 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds who take up internships and everything with the company, and I see them being extremely progressive in their thought process and how they are dealing with situations and managing, balancing their work life, their student life, and doing like 5 6 things together. So I mean, I see that transition happening now, and I think the education's changed a lot more in India now. But I think that at that point of time, either we didn't explore it the right way or it wasn't that way.
And I would say like it's more about the journey than the destination. So forget the shopping cart thing. Even if you don't complete within the stipulated time, the process of learning, or at least you're trying to get there, is much more valuable. You're learning how to learn. I think that is what was missing in Mumbai University, at least for me.
I agree
Hmm.
with you, Atit, but I guess the problem was, you were not rewarded the right way for learning. You were rewarded if you had a finished product. No, they don't care if you use a template. If you just copy from someone else, they didn't care about that. They just wanted you to complete the project. So rewarding for completeness is, I think, is not right. I guess that's where like people wanted to score more marks. That was the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was a part of the same game, so
Yeah. I remember like in one of the classes we had marks for every programming, what do you call, like a segment. So if you miss a for loop, you are scoring 2 marks less, but then the whole program won't work. Like it didn't make sense at all.
Yeah, I mean, you
yeah.
were penalized for not writing a semicolon.
Yeah, okay. Enough of MU bashing. So going back
Let's
to
move on.
UMCP. So Prerak, like what was your placement like, and then like why did you select PwC, and what's your role in PwC now?
Yeah. So there was, I'd say, zero to no placement, meaning like there was no like I mean the placement cell was almost like non-existent, especially for people who are on a visa. So they didn't definitely have a good platform there. So definitely not for my course. So they had a few companies who recruited, but they didn't have any like big connections, or they didn't help us with like even events or connections with other companies or other people in the industry. So I won't say I had a good experience there. So everything we had to do was on our own. We just had to figure out a way to find a job. For PwC, I think I was fortunate enough that someone reached out to me uh, for this role, and they actually wanted me to like start back at the entry level. So I remember I had a job offer, and then I rejected it. That was probably like my chance to like get a job and work here. It would have been I would have been left with like no jobs, but I still did not accept that offer because they wanted me to start again from that whole analyst or associate position. So I had to negotiate for a couple of months, but so I started off as an experienced associate with the cybersecurity and privacy practice at PwC. And within cybersecurity and privacy, I work in the strategy and transformation vertical. What I love about this job is that I am not, again, focused on technology solutions, or I'm not focused on implementations. I'm focused on solving problems for chief information security officers. So my first project was, in PwC, was with this large top 5 tech company in the US. So, the likes of Google. Uh, and they had a recent breach. So I was helping the chief information security officer develop a program where they can work closely with people and business leaders across the organization, and giving him real insights, giving the CISO real insights into things. So live security metrics reporting, live reporting of vulnerabilities across organizations. So taking that whole design thinking approach, developing a strategy around things. My job was not to implement a dashboard or implement a tool. My job was to figuring out a way on how the process can be better. So my work is focused around process improvement, developing strategies, developing communication models, sometimes, models around how can the entire company, which is span across like various countries, how can they work together to strengthen security? How can they work together to exchange data? How can they work together and improve the whole security posture and help the chief information security officer? So I usually work with the office of the chief information security officer, and the people who I meet, my clients, they are some good people too. Again, sticking to the point that I made earlier, you realize that people higher up in organizations are really humble, very, very approachable, at least the most part of them. So there's a lot to learn, and I learn every day from these amazing people. And apart from, again, work, people, etc., I love how my work lets me travel. Except but before COVID, how I was traveling a lot. I've been in America for about 4 years, so pretty new here. But I've been to 30 plus states. I've been to more than 70-ish cities. Just this last year, I had more than like 75. I was on more than 75 flights. So I love the whole thrill of every day is new. You need to figure out how every day, how you deal with every day.
You genuinely like what you have been working on and the kind of companies that you're meeting on a regular basis and the kind of people that you're working with, and also the travel. Like I believe you miss it now, don't you?
Yeah, I do, but I'm not sure if I want to go back to it, but I definitely miss it.
Yeah, and I would second the thing you told about like people who are actually higher up, they help you a lot. So even I work for PwC, right? So like it would be more efficient for us to just go and talk to those people and tell them, okay, we don't understand this. And they would take the time always, like most of the times they took the time to explain to us like what they are actually doing and what is the process rather than being condescending about it. So it's always like very nice to be honest rather than like lying that you know something and then like at the last minute trying to reach out to them to understand like what is happening.
So that's about it, folks. This is the end of part 1. We'll be continuing our conversation with Prerak in the next episode, where we talk about the importance of cybersecurity, his fitness journey, relationship between mentor and mentee, and how to motivate yourself every day. You can find more about Prerak in the show notes below. Thanks for listening today. If you liked any part of the episode, share it with your friends. Show us some love. We'll see you next week. Until then, this was Heloni, Atit and Tapan signing off. And this was What We Have.